Welcome to Geek Philosophy, where we love geeky wisdom. Today's video is going to be a little bit different because I want to take a moment to introduce myself and let all of our new subscribers know what the channel is all about. You see, we've been growing a lot lately, which is amazing. It also means that some of you may not know what we're all about. So I figured it's time that I gave all of you new subscribers a proper introduction to the channel. And I want to reassure all of you that have been around since the beginning that we're still on the same path and we're not going to be making any huge drastic changes. So hi, my name's Brian and I like role-playing games. I have to say, this is pretty easy to admit these days, but it wasn't always that way. When I was younger, I found myself drawn to things that were a little bit out of the norm at the time. I loved comics and sci-fi, fantasy, and anything else that sparked my imagination. Back then, those interests weren't really as mainstream as they are today. Sometimes I felt like I was a little bit on the outside looking in, and D&D was one of those things that I loved. But unlike today, a lot of people didn't understand what it was all about. During the 80s and the 90s, there were a lot of preconceived notions about D&D and role-playing games in general. Yes, I was playing during the Satanic Panic era. And I was on the younger side of things during that time, but because people didn't really take the time to understand what was really happening with all of that, it made a lot of us in my age range who played a little bit scared to be lumped into that category. So as younger players during that time period, it was hard to find people to game with. For me at least, I was lucky enough to find a core group of close friends that could play together. And that group didn't really change much, actually, for years. We started out with Advanced Dungeons & Dragons and moved into 2nd edition pretty quickly. I've run games for every published edition of D&D since then, but I have dabbled in other role-playing games like Pathfinder and D20 Star Wars, Palladium Fantasy Role-Playing Game, Rifts, Cyberpunk, Robotech, you name it. And as time went on, I was able to connect with new people who wanted to play. And now I've been fortunate enough to run games for a larger, more diverse group of people. And I'm excited about the latest resurgence and mainstream appeal of D&D and other tabletop role-playing games within the last 10 years or so. Even though I've been playing for a while, I've learned more in recent years than I have in the last 25 or 30. YouTube and live streaming has made it possible to see how other people play all over the world, something I never had access to before. And I know that may seem odd to those of you who have always had it this way, but I can't overstate how cool it is, and I don't take it for granted. And I've been learning just as much from people who have only been playing for a short period of time than I have from people who have been playing for years and years and years. Like a large group of this audience, I'm predominantly running 5e campaigns these days. It doesn't mean I don't like the other editions or the other game systems or third-party, I don't even like the term third-party, but other publishers of role-playing games. I love all of that stuff, and whatever you play, whatever your game of choice is, I'm on your side. I don't think it has to be mutually exclusive. You can like 5e and like other things. You could like other things and not 5e, and that's okay too. It doesn't make anybody wrong because they like a particular system. So, because I want to give back, my primary focus is on people who are new to the hobby. People that are new to playing the games or new to running the games. And it doesn't mean I'm going to ignore all of you experienced gamers. I just want to make sure that I'm sharing things that a new player or DM or GM may benefit from. So my Dungeon Master tips are a collection of ideas and tips and tricks and best practices that I've accumulated over the years. But it should never really be thought of as advice. It's just my evolving perspective on things as I play and learn how to run these games better. And also know that when I say Dungeon Master or D&D, I'm really talking about any Game Master or role-playing game system. And even though I said I mainly play 5e these days, most of the things I talk about are kind of system agnostic. At least I try to make them that way whenever I can. My partner, Crystal, and I also really love Critical Role, like many of you as well. So in addition to our other videos, we created a series called Critical Cafe that is dedicated to our love of Critical Role and our personal reaction to the campaigns. We used to record and edit these things ahead of time, but we recently turned it into a Wednesday night live stream so that you can join us and comment as we chat about things. Also, as someone who started their professional career as an elementary school teacher, helping out kids is really near and dear to my heart. So that's why I created a D&D for Kids series, because there are a lot of benefits for kids in role-playing games. It's called D&D for kids, but really it's about any tabletop role-playing game. You get my point here with all that, right? Some of you may also know that I'm working on a kid-friendly subsetting that is designed to exist along with a regular campaign world. This Guardians of Getica subsetting is specifically designed to help out families that want to run both kid games and games for the grown-ups. And it allows you to introduce younger kids to the game and potentially keep their characters growing as they grow up. Which means the game could span generations in the game world and in the real world, like it does for a lot of people anyway. So you could say that, at its core, Geek Philosophy is about sharing our experience for new players and game masters. But like all of you, I don't like to be railroaded either. I'm always interested in exploring new things, and I branch out into other stuff from time to time. I personally just want to let all of you know that it doesn't matter what your background is, what you're into, what game you like to play, what your favorite genre is, what you look like or sound like. None of that matters when it comes to this channel. You are welcome here. I want the community surrounding this channel to be as inclusive and accepting as possible, and I strive to make everybody feel welcome. So join the conversation and share your thoughts in the comments to all these videos. We can learn from each other. Now that said, just know that I have no problems removing inappropriate or harmful comments that don't align with that philosophy. So come as you are, and let's keep the campaign going. If you're new, check out some of the other videos to get a feel for things. They may not be as well shot and composed or edited, but just like running games, you get better at it as you go. That's it. I just wanted to share a little philosophy about the channel. Now, as you know, I normally close each video with a Geek Philosophy quote, but this time, I'm going to leave it up to you. Why don't you drop a quote of your favorite geeky wisdom in the comments below? All right, we'll see you next time. Cheers.